Hi, the topic today is how to be highly effective, but we are focusing on the faith. So, faith is the big beast. See, the today's topic is very big because it's dealing with the most intangible thing. The most intangible thing we need to grasp for us to be highly effective. Because without faith, you can't be successful. Without faith, they say no one sees God. Without faith, you can possibly do nothing. So, faith is highly important. That's why I say today, this is the big one today. It's a big catch. A big catch. Because if you understand what I'm going to say today, you conquer all your problems. So I'm not mixing words today. See, faith is critical in everything you're going to do. But first of all, there is something you need to understand. You see, you can't have faith on a vacuum. You can't have faith on nothing. You see, you cannot have faith on steps when you build it on something. People say they don't have faith, but if you look at behind it, you see that they have faith something or whatever they're doing. But if you don't have faith, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes we don't understand what faith is all about. But I'm here today to tell you, to illustrate to you different ways we apply faith without even knowing. First of all, I will tell you now the story of the day. The story of the day you are watching today. The story says, the day says that God has overcome all your problems. God has conquered every problem in the universe. So that is the story the day says. This is the narrative, the story, the narrative the day carries on. But only few people understand or hears this story. So no matter what you're doing, you have to get it at the back of your mind that the story of the day means that God has conquered every problem, every challenge, everything in life. But then, He wants His children to do the same thing. God wants you to conquer all your problems the same way He's done. He wants you to learn from Him. That's why in the night, He gives you the opportunity to show yourself. To show whether you've understood what He's talking about. So the night means challenge. Time to shine, time to, explore your prowess. Time to demonstrate what you can do. Because God has taught you a principle, but He wants you to apply it. But you cannot apply it if you don't understand what is going on. What the days, the narrative of the day and the narrative of the night. What the night is talking about. So that's why when people get into a problem or they have a challenge or they have obstacle, they start fearing. Fear get hold of them. And the fear will sweep them over and they will sink. So, but if you understand that in the beginning, God has conquered everything, but He wants you to exercise your own will, your own power with the will He has already given to you. So, He wants you to learn from Him and do the same thing He's done. So, life is the greatest opportunity for us to act like God, the way He has created us. But the sad thing is that everybody's afraid. Because we don't understand the narrative of the day. We don't understand what the day means. We don't understand what the night means. Because if you do understand these things, man, the problem is solved. So before you were born, your problem, challenges you're going to face has been solved already by God. But it's for you to draw on that faith and use it and get on with your life. Without fearing. Without fear and favor, according to people, they say without fear and favor. So that is what life is all about. Life is about tackling your problems, tackling your challenges, facing them head on. Because God is there, permanently there for you. He has done it and he wants you to do it. He wants you to copy from him. So the story of the night tells you, look, this is the time to demonstrate your power. This is the time to shine. This is the time to use your skill, you use your strategy, use your understanding, and use your wisdom to conquer every problem. But what do? We shrink. What do? We fear. What do? We allow the problem itself to conquer us. And we end up abusing ourselves. We end up becoming a victim of our circumstances. So the whole thing is that if you understand what challenge is all about, then you know that in the real sense of it doesn't exist. But for somebody who hasn't got a faith, he believes it exists. But somebody who understands the narrative, then he's not afraid, because already his problem has been solved before he comes into the scene. It's just for you to draw on the faith you have. And this is where faith becomes essential. Because without faith, you cannot see that the problem has been overcome. Long time, 20 billion years before you were created. So we are always afraid. It's this very, 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 very important thing that will make us great, that will make us successful, is what we are afraid of. And why are we afraid of it? It's because of ignorance, because of lack of faith. And that is why I said faith is the big beast today, is the big one today, is the big catch. Because if you understand what faith is all about, each and every one of your problems is conquered even before you go into the fight. You want to go into a fight before you've won already. So if you don't have the mentality to believe that you won already before going there, you're not going to win that fight. Because first of all, you have to believe that God exists. First of all, you have to believe in, you have the faith. You can train as much as you like, but if you don't believe it, you're not going to have it. So first and foremost, you got to believe that that is the way it is, and that is what it is, and that is the story of the day, and that is the story of the night. Because if you don't know the narrative of the night, you mess up. You get messed up. So the whole thing is that God is constantly there for you, both in the day and in the night. And he's assuring you the problem, all your challenges have been solved. But what he's telling you, get the faith and get out of the boat. Look at what happened to Peter. In the middle of the storm, 3 a.m. in the night. This was a journey they set up about 3 in the evening. 3 a.m. in the night, there came a heavy storm. A big wave in the high ocean, in the big waters. Very, very frightening situation. They had nobody to, rely on. But beyond, they see an image of Christ passing. And Peter inquired, Lord, if it is you, let me walk on the water. And Peter jumped out of the boat and began to walk. So, see, the essence of life is about taking the risks. If you can't take the risks, you are messed up already. So, faith means risk taking. Because if you don't take risks, you're not going to go anywhere. Life is meant for people who take risks. Life is not for people who are timid, who are always afraid, who are nervous. That life is not meant for. Life is meant for the bold and the brave. So if you're not brave, if you're not bold, if you're not courageous, life is not for you. Life is meant for people who see that God has solved the problem And God is asking them, exercise your divine power which I've given you. You got to exercise it. Because if you don't exercise it, you will not experience God. And if you don't experience God, busha, you are empty. You can't do anything. Even if you like, go and study everything in the university, you will become messed up. Even if you like, get the best degree, get anything, you're not going to do anything. Because what you're going to experience is beyond what you study in the school. It's beyond what humans can really comprehend. And this is where the fire comes in. So if you haven't got the firepower, nowhere. If you like, work as much as you like, study as much as you like, you're not going to do anything because you don't believe it. So that's why this aspect is the intangible aspect of life, which is the most important part of knowledge. It's not what you study in the school. It is about inspiration. So the faith I'm talking is what distinguishes people from other people. But some people sometimes have faith, but they don't know that they talk about risks. But in the sense, faith and risks, they are similar, but they're not the same. Because if you don't take risks, you're going to be where you are. Look at Peter and the 12 apostles with the way inside the boat. But it was Peter that got the faith. Because he understood that you need to experience God. You need to experience God in order to, use your divine power. We are not ordinary people the way we see us walk around. We are made in the image of God. Therefore, we have divine power as God. The same power God has. So that's why he says, exercise it. How many people do exercise their divine power? Few people. So you are called to exercise your divine power. You are called to conquer, vanquish, and destroy all the challenges on your way. But the problem is that you are afraid. The problem is that you are timid. You are so scared that you can't do anything. A lot of people are so scary to the feet that, man, when they see something, they're on the run. They escape like they've seen tiger and lion. That is not the way it's supposed to be. God is saying today, calling you that all the problem you got in life has been solved, but you haven't got the faith to get out of the boat. Leave your comfort zone. The boat is your comfort zone. The boat is like your home. Leave it up. Leave your home. And get on and take the simple risks and solve your problems instead of moaning and whinging and crying. Because moaning and whinging can't solve any problem, cannot take you anywhere. So I'm here today to tell you the narrative, what the day signify, what the night signify, what the narrative each and every one of them is saying, which some of you cannot grasp. So for us, we have the privilege of the insight. That's why I'm talking to you about it. So you need to understand that your problem from the beginning has been solved. But ignorance and lack of faith made you to believe that they are there. So the night is the time. The night means the time of trouble, the time of storm. When you get into the storm, when you get into the challenge, when you say you don't have money, when you say you can't pass your exams, when you say you can't get married, when you can't have children, when you can't have relationship. These are storms. These are the night. But in the same way, these things are the greatest opportunity for you to demonstrate your divine power, which God has given to you. If you're not using it, you are wasting it. So this is why I tell you, look, your divine power is great. You need to exercise it. God is calling you today. Use your power. Use the divine power I've given to you. Exercise it. Experience God. If there is no activity, you don't see God. When there is no activity, nothing is working. When Peter and the apostles were in the boat, there was a serious activity. And immediately, they saw God moving, passing. And that is where God is always passing before you. But you don't have the God to call him on him. They don't have the God to recognize him. You don't have the God. Because of fear, you will not recognize he's there. And then you sink. You become a victim of your circumstance. You become a victim of your own problems. So here, I'm telling to you, here, this is opportunity for you to understand that you are capable of solving all your problems, from financial problem to any kind of relationship problem to any kind of thing you have. It's just for you to understand the story the night is talking about, the story the day is talking. They are not here for you to just, to come and bat under the sun. They are here to tell a story. They are daily telling a story of how God conquered the world and how you should learn how to conquer the world the same way. Remember when people were brought to the apostles, to cure. The apostles, they spent almost months and years with Christ. They saw everything being done, but they couldn't implement it. Because why? They haven't got faith. They were afraid. So it's all about having the faith to understand, the insight to understand that the problem is already solved. You have to draw in the faith and then get the problem solved. Because it's the level of faith you have determines how you can move. It is not your strength, but it's the level of faith you have. So if you faint on a difficult day, you don't have faith. If by a little challenge you give in, where is your faith? Where is your power? So your problem is already solved, but you don't understand it. Behind the frowning providence is the smiling face. It's telling you, behind all your challenges, God is telling you your problem has been solved. But the only thing is that you haven't got the faith. You haven't got the faith. According to my daughter, they say I should call it faith. Okay. You haven't got the faith. You need to have the faith to overcome your problems. You need to have the faith to believe that the problem is already solved before you started. If you are going to go, like I said, if you are going for a battle or a war, a challenge, you have to believe you've already defeated it. But if you haven't got this mentality that you've already conquered, you're not going to conquer. The mindset of success comes before it happens. If you don't believe it, you don't see it. The funny thing is that faith is only for people who believe. If you don't believe, nothing for you. You are empty. You just stay on this earth while away your time. By the time you're 100 years, you just die and that's it. Game is over. Life is for people who have faith. To go to the extreme, to go to the limit, and then to conquer. Because if you haven't got faith, you can't take a risk. Risk means faith. Because somebody who takes risks is aware where he's going. So Peter, before he started leaving the boat, he knew where he was going. Because without faith, you can't really get out of the boat and start walking on the water. Because if you do it, you're going to sink. You're going to get drowned. So, are you leaving your boat today? Are you leaving your comfort zone? You are held down by fear of the challenge, which has already been conquered before you were born. You are held hostage by something which doesn't exist in the first place. You are held spellbound by a challenge, by an obstacle, which was conquered well before you were born. The only thing you need is to have faith, and then you now acquire it, you appropriate it. So this is why I say today is a big catch. It's a big catch in the sense that if you understand the principle and you apply it, you see the result instantly. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to tell you the absolute truth, the way I've seen it and the way I've done it in my life. If you like, do everything you like. If you haven't got faith, you're not going to go. You will get stuck there. So you will get stuck there. Okay. So faith is highly important. Because if you don't have faith, you can't take the risks. And if you don't take the risks, you'll be there forever. Some people are hit wherever they are forever. They never go anywhere. They never change. They never transit to any other thing. They're always afraid, timid. They are highly intimidated. What do you see them? They make noise and they don't move. So they confuse emotion. Is anything. Remember, God is calling you. Look, God only comes when there is activity. If there is no activity, God doesn't come. So God is all about activity. So what is the activity you are carrying out in your life today? Are you stuck in the boat? Are you held bound in the boat? What is the boat there? Can you move beyond your frontier? Can you move beyond where you find yourself? Can you have the courage and the boldness to move beyond where you are? You need to exercise the divine power. God wants you to experience Him in an extraordinary way. Are you experiencing God in an extraordinary way? If you're not experiencing God in an extraordinary way, I'm afraid you are not doing anything. It's just like you are taking a food and eating. You're only having a walk. You're having a leisure walk. You're not doing anything. You need to experience God by doing extraordinary things. If you're not doing extraordinary things, you are not experiencing God. And the only way you can do extraordinary things is when you have the understanding about the skills and the expertise. I'm telling you today. You can't get it in the university. Go anywhere, you can't see it in the university book. You can study as much as you like, get as much degree as at the end of the day, you cannot do anything. It's beyond what you study. People who saw stars didn't study it in the university. People who can interpret things, they didn't see it in the school, in the 4 walls of school. So I'm here to tell you that the education, or what you call as learning, education on this cramming of something is different from what I'm talking about today. It's all about doing it, believing it and doing it, walking on the sea. You saw how Peter, despite all the odds, chosen to step out of the boat. Until you step out of the boat, you cannot experience God. You will be there crying every day, moaning and whining, because you don't want to take any risks. We should be a society that embark on risks. Life is about risks. Even you can stay in your house and die. Sometimes, when I was a kid, my father was a truck driver. He stood a lot of chances. He took a lot of risks. Imagine driving from all the way from Bise to Kano, Kaduna, which is about 3-day journey. So for me, you start feeling, oh my God, what if he dies on the road? What if there's accident? But could you believe that for 50 years, my father was on the road, he never had accidents? Even the people who were having accidents were people who were sleeping on their bed. So that is the irony of life. People who take risks are the people People who don't take risks are the people who even suffer from casualty, become the casualty. Because if you are sleeping on your bed, you are taking more risks than somebody who's on the road. But you don't know. Not doing anything, you are taking more risks. Because in that way, you are not experiencing God. You are not using your divine power. You are not using your potentials. You have great potentials. You have the same power God has given to himself. You have the same will God gave to himself. In fact, God doesn't control your will because the nature of will is self-control. This is the level of what God has given to you. But you bury it inside your body and you never use it. Until you learn that, look, you still possess the same power God possesses. Because the law of love demands God to give himself complete to his sons and to his children. And that's what he's giving to you. But you don't know. You spent 90 years without realizing, look at the potential. Look at what you could do. In fact, we've not used up to 10% of their potentials. We probably won't use the 10% of our potentials. So I'm here now to tell you, look, without faith, you can't take risks. Risks is about people who have faith. Risks is about, if you don't take risks, you're not going to go anywhere. Look at Peter. Look at all apostles, they all took risks. So how can you, if you're in a boat and the storm was rising, the wave was too much, and despite that, you jump out of the boat and start walking on the ocean? It takes more than a courage to do that. That is where faith comes in. Where courage ends is where faith starts. So if you haven't got faith, you cannot last for so long in such a difficult scenario, for such a difficult circumstance. So that's one moment. That's why I'm trying to tell you too. I'm encouraging you to take risks. Because if you don't take risks, you're not going to succeed. You wouldn't experience anything in life. But I'm not saying you should take something without applying wisdom. I'm not saying you should go and jump inside the ocean. But you have to clarify what you want to do and know that, look at what you want to do, what you want to achieve. Risk is not about being reckless. Risk is about, measuring it and knowing your capacity. After all, Peter didn't just jump from the boat and into the water. There was a set of activity he understood, and that was why he started doing it. You need to understand the activity in place. So you need to apply wisdom. He asked Jesus Christ, Lord, if it is you, let me walk on the ocean. Let me walk on the water. So he exercised caution. He exercised wisdom. But when it comes to risk taking, you need to exercise wisdom. But once the wisdom is there, go ahead, you've already won. You cannot defeat a man with faith. You can learn as much as you like, but you cannot come close to a man with faith. Because where your courage ends is where the faith starts. So faith is about believing that God exists. For people who don't believe that God exists, God doesn't exist, they can't apply faith. So it's a gift God has given to his children to conquer every challenge. Whether it's going to the space or going to the moon, going to anywhere in the world. Achieving great things that is beyond human comprehension. Doing great things that are beyond human comprehension. Because God has given you that divine power, he wants you to experience it. Jesus Christ, after teaching his apostles, wanted them to experience him. That was why Peter got on the boat. The apostles, he asked them to get on the boat, and there was a huge storm on the way. He wants them to experience him and also to experience the divine power they already possess. So if you don't take risks, nothing for you. If you don't take risks, you are not experiencing God. If you don't take risks, you are not doing extraordinary things. And if you don't take risks, you're not going to go anywhere. You are stuck. You are stuck in the boat. You are held back on the boat. So fear is a crippling factor. So until you understand what I'm talking about, you cannot grow. You cannot do extraordinary things, and you can't be a leader. A great leader is somebody who has faith, who understood that before he came out, the problem has been solved. What is there is to complete the assignment. You are here to fulfill what is already destined. But because you haven't got faith, you see them as obstacles, you see them as challenges, and you are held back forever. You never achieved anything. You have the money, the potential, and everything. You can't do anything. You have the knowledge, have everything, but you can't do it. When it comes to action, you can't do anything because you don't realize that God is about activity. Without activity, there is no God. You can't see God without activity. Behind the frowning providence is the smiling face. That is what the sun is telling you every day. That is the battle that is going on in life. I'm here to reveal to you the battle that is going on here in life. That before you came into the ring, the battle has been won already. Ask great fighters. Before they step into the ring, they know that the fight had ended. They are just there to complete it. So the same thing in your life. Before you were born, you should realize that the whole problem you got is been solved. Because if you don't have that mentality, you are stuck. You get buried there. You can't move anywhere. So apply this wisdom. Apply the narrative of the day. The day is singing. The day is saying a story. Get down and understand the story. The night is telling a story. The night is telling a story. There is a narrative the night is giving out. Remember, the sun stays for 24 hours. The same way God stays for 24 hours. So what you call night is not night before God. It's a temporary, is something that is transitory, that you need to understand. I have experienced this and I'm telling you. That's why I'm telling to you, look, you need to understand that you need to move on. With faith, you can realize everything you want to realize. Don't be afraid. Don't get timid. Don't be, frightened by obstacles and challenges. Because for me, I'm not held back by anything I see. Because I understand that before I step in, the problem was solved already. That's why they said success is about 80% showing up. If you can show up 80%, if you can show up, you've won the success. It's only 80%. Showing up is 80% of success. So if you are going to get into something, you don't believe you've won already, don't go into it. If you are going to get engaged in a fight, you don't believe you won already, don't go into it. Because you already, the fear, you have caught fear. Just like people caught cold, you have caught fear already. You're going to be defeated. A fighter believes before he steps in, he's won it. The same thing you have to believe before you came into this world, you've won the fight. It's impossible to win somebody who has faith. You can't win the person. No matter how round you tend to go. If you can get 2,000 rounds, he's going to beat you all the way. Because he has faith. He understood the story of the day. He understood the story of the night. So begin to have faith. Begin to step out of the boat. Begin to take risks, because if there is no activity, there is no God. You cannot experience God. God wants you to experience Him in extraordinary way by doing extraordinary things. Thank you.